what it is, the peoples. How is everybody tonight? Get my windows organized and my volume situated. Okay. All right. So we have learned that even the bosses that I thought we were just going to break rods on, it took us 2 rods to take down Liquid Flame, and fighting Liquid Flame any other way was going to be require like save scumming or leveling up. But we are a good level to go through the library, and I've got a flame rod here for Biblos. I've also got a flame weapon, though. So I'm wondering if we could take Biblos on with the rod. And then how much health he'll have after that. We might switch somebody over to a flame bow and see if we can deal some damage with that. I mean, being a YouTuber is like, what job is close? Probably a Beastmaster, because I gotta put up with all you filthy animals all day long in my stream chat. That was a mean joke. I shouldn't have said that. I don't mean that from the heart. Probably only very, very few of you are actually filthy. I trust that most of you are showering every day. You still have the healing staff. I don't know if I want you to have the healing staff. For now, the whip. Oh, we can back row Gallif again. Yeah, everybody's 16, so everybody's safe in the upcoming dungeon. That's a dead end. Starting a little later, actually considerably later in the day than I'd like to, but it was kind of a weird day. So we'll get it done. I'm wondering if I should excuse me, run from this fight. I'm wondering if I should buy a second flame rod. I don't think I'm gonna. I think we're gonna go at it with what we have currently. And see what it gets us. There's no point trying to plan for the next roadblock if we don't actually know, first of all, that it's going to be a roadblock, and second of all, what the nature of the block is going to be. We gotta get through Ifrit first. Let's see if Ifrit's going to be a roadblock, because if not... we won't need any more help. I had forgotten this dungeon actually has 2 bosses in it. Now we will start the healing process. Did we get that Elven Mantle out of there? I think we did. I think we got the Elven Mantle. There's one... there's the other one. Yeah, we have it. We might be able to make some bank selling ethers now that I think about it. We're not going to have a use for ethers at all. When it comes to how many rods we want to buy, etc. So we're about to find out on Ifrit here. If we can't beat this boss pretty easily, we'll just run back and buy a Frost Rod. But yeah, staying ahead of the healing here might not be effective. Because that blaze is eventually going to prove too much for us. And if Lena gets paralyzed, then we're in a boatload of hurt. I know what you're thinking. Brick Road, a whole boatload? That's a big load. Well, depends on the size of your boat, I suppose. See, this is exactly the situation I did not want to be in with Lena paralyzed, because there's nothing we can do about that. And we can't take her healing staff off of her while she's paralyzed. And I saw Bart's miss twice, which is fun. He picked some really convenient targets for us, though. Like, he hasn't killed anybody yet, which is beautiful. Alright, so Forrest is dead. That's a given. Cool. They're gonna kill Bart's. Not quite. Nice crit. Oh, okay, we got through it. Thanks to the samurai crit. Now I think we run back up and hit that healing pot. Got a... oh, we can't use a flame scroll. I say we got a flame scroll. We can throw that at Biblos. We can't. Flame scroll is also useless to us. Yeah, I'm gonna run back up and hit the pot. Build up that chicken knife a little bit. See Forest laying on the ground in a puddle of hair. How do I... There we go. Ah, right there. We out. In the door. I hate it when you miss the door. I play Final Fantasy II Pixel Remaster, so as part of the almost perfect save, I am obligated by law to play Final Fantasy II at one point, but I think I'm going to play the PSP version of it, because that version has the most content in it to clear. So, I couldn't say when that's going to happen, but next time I play Final Fantasy II is going to be the PSP version. I have the hardware to stream it from. I'd have to buy a copy of Final Fantasy II, which just hurts to think about. God. 'Cause it's a physical disc, man. If I get the PSP version and play it on hardware, like, I have a box in my house that says Final Fantasy II on it. But yeah, that's probably the version I'm going to play. Unless they start adding content to these Pixel Remasters, which isn't impossible, but I also don't know how probable it is. But I couldn't say it's going to happen anytime soon. It's going to be a rough playthrough, too. It's just going to be a lot of just naked grinding. Because I'd have to sit down and deduce a spell list for each character to ensure that, like, all the characters have all of the spells that are, like, remotely useful, but that I have at least, probably at least 2 characters for any given spell. And then, of course, you gotta level all the spells and all the weapons to level 16 with all characters. Also, a lot of spells, I think, like the inventory is going to be tricky in that game, I think. How does the inventory work in, like, the advanced version? I'm trying to think. Because for, like, Final Fantasy 1 and 3, for the Famicom versions, I actually would have to... for 1, especially, I had to actually sit down and plot out what constitutes a maxed inventory for that game. Because you can't have one of everything. There's not enough space. You can't literally carry one of everything. No, I gotta go in that hole up there. How do I get in that hole? I feel like I always miss this treasure box every time I do this dungeon. I mean, last time I played Final Fantasy II, I literally only leveled the spells that I knew I was going to need. There's only like 3 spells in the game that are worth casting. Cure, obviously, like Life, Haste. There's a couple, I guess. Berserk is worth it. And Toad, I learned, is actually very strong in 2. So last time I played 2. Why is Lena... Oh, she's got a ribbon, that's right. Lena is rocking a ribbon. We're going to have multiple characters. We're going to have 4 ribbons! You can farm ribbons in this game, can't you? You can get any arbitrary number. Or is it a steal? Karnak Castle, Forest section of the Rift, Regol Pyramid. There's 5 ribbons apparently. And no, there's 6 that you can do. Really, 6? It can be found at Karnak Castle. We got that one. The Forest in the final dungeon, Interdimensional Rift. So we can like dip into the rift and just grab that one pretty early in World 3. There's one in Regol, Pyramid of Moor, Sealed Temple, which I'm imagining is the Island Temple. And a girl in the Weapon and Armor store in Regol. Oh, okay, I counted that one twice. So yeah, there's 5. We can get a ton of ribbons. That's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna be rocking ribbons on all characters, people. This is... I completed everything I wanted to complete in Final Fantasy VI. Oh, I really enjoyed it too. I really enjoyed it. Of all the pixel remasters, except for 2, which I never played 2, but like it had been the longest since I'd done a full playthrough of Final Fantasy VI. So, like, I did enjoy Final Fantasy III a lot. I really like having this version of Final Fantasy III available, but I had played both the 3D and the Famicom version of it within the past couple of years. I feel like I'm learning a lot about Final Fantasy III every time I play it, though. I feel like I'm getting better at it, so it's becoming a breezier and breezier playthrough for me each time I go through it. Like, that might be one I pick up and go through, like, once a year or so. But yeah, I think, like, I don't have to pick a winner, right, from the Pixel remasters, but I think 3 and 6 were the winners. I think they're the best of them. I feel like we hit the limit on what we can really do with Final Fantasy 1 with, like, the advanced version, with Dawn of Souls. And actually, that version was based on a version made for a handheld console called the Wonder Swan, which it doesn't even exist. It's not a real thing. It's like Canada. It's like the Canada of handheld consoles. But, like, with quick saving and some other quality of life stuff, like, we hit the diminishing returns on what can be added and improved in Final Fantasy 1 many, many, many years ago. And then 4 and 5, and 6 a little bit too, it's like, it is a little bit of a step back because you don't have the extra content that was added later, which is not that big a deal, because it's mostly endgame bonus dungeon stuff. You know how it is, but... Alright, we're going to place a whip with a flame rod. We're going to break a flame rod on you. And then you, sir, I'm going to give you a flame bow. I wasn't paying attention. How much damage did that do? Oh, that flame bow, man. That flame bow's going to get me there. I might not need to break a rod here then. That was a almost 500 damage flame bow hit. I have another flame rod too. But yeah, it was important to get that version of Final Fantasy III because we didn't have an official release of the 2D version of that game ever. So, well, now we're just going to miss all day, right? Maybe it was correct to break a rod here. So we're not going to have any trouble getting over his drain with that bow. Yeah, we got him. That was it. So yeah, breaking a rod was probably the smart play there. Four is another one. Like Final Fantasy IV is always close to my heart, but like after you clean up the graphics a little bit, there's really not a lot you can do to improve Final Fantasy IV. The biggest improvement that they made in previous versions was they let you build your own party at the end of the game. If you want to swap Yang or the twins back in, you can. And I did miss that from this version. I understand why they wanted to keep the pixel remasters like as close to the original releases, but I felt was a really interesting way to cap that game off, allowing you to play through the final dungeon with all of the characters was. So if they do go back to add content, like adding that, and then adding the 3 Espers back into Final Fantasy VI. I think that's the most important content that they could add to the Pixel remasters. The Dawn of Souls dungeons and like the endgame shrines and all that kind of stuff I'm more cool on. Like, take it or leave it. Four might have had the most improved soundtrack, though, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, that battle, the boss theme in Final Fantasy IV is already one of my favorite songs in this series, and then they took it up to 11 in the Pixel remasters. We're dead! We're not dead, we're fine. Go ahead and put your whip back on. Put your blade and your shield back on. Oh, I watched some footage of Stranger in Paradise yesterday, and I was blown away by how stupid it was. Remember when the game was announced and all like the memes came out? I'm gonna kill Chaos and all. I thought those were just like dumb memey jokes about the like reveal trailer. Okay, which happens a lot with games that get revealed. Like the memes come out. I love memes. I love meme culture. I love to laugh, cute dogs, whatever. I didn't realize that was just a description of the game. Like, I wasn't prepared. I watched somebody play through the first hour or two of the game and watching the cutscenes. So the gameplay of the game doesn't excite me. It looks like it's... I've heard it described as like it's trying to be like a Devil May Cry kind of thing, and I've never gotten into those kind of games. I played Bayonetta and enjoyed Bayonetta. Did I finish Bayonetta on the Wii U? I can't remember now. But, so the gameplay doesn't really excite me, but the story feels like they're trying to write something that's bad on purpose because people enjoy laughing at things that are so bad they're good. So they're like, instead of writing like a good plot with good characters and stuff, can we just make the story so bad it's good on purpose? And you can't do that intentionally. Every time people try to do that intentionally, it's just awful. So if the game gets absolutely smash reviews and a bunch of the people that know me really well and my tastes on my Discord like tell me that I should play it, then I probably will at some point, but as it stands right now, I'm not going to pick it up. I thought the game looked really bad too. Just like the character models and stuff, they look really stiff and plasticky, like way more than is usual for a modern game like that. It looks like an upscaled PSP game to me. Like specifically, it looks to me like the Dissidia story mode. I always forget where Sid is in this town. He's in the pub. He's getting drunk. He's getting his drank, dude. We're not playing any pianos. This is the pianoless run. We can't afford to play pianos. We're unemployed. I'll watch, whether I play it or not, I'll watch somebody else's full playthrough. I'll make sure that I'm like familiar with the story and gameplay and stuff. It's still a Final Fantasy game, so it's still on my radar, but... no, the game that I wish listed today is this little like Zelda-looking like 2D adventure game called Tunic. That looks really adorable, and people are telling me that it's actually really good to play. Like the puzzle content, really high quality, kind of old school Zelda feel. So I need to finish up the mountain of games that I'm playing through right now. Like I'm playing through Horizon. I think I'm like a third of the way through that after a week of playing it. I've got to finish up Disco Elysium, which I can do now that my shoulder isn't killing me anymore. But I think next time I'm like ready to pull a new game off the shelf and play it, I'm going to play Tunic. This scene is especially egregious because we see the scene and then like 2 minutes later we'll see a flashback to the scene. Yeah, like mission-based structure like that, depending on what the core gameplay is like. Because Final Fantasy 13 kind of feels like that a little bit, you know? The game does open up and you do get a world map to explore eventually, but it is just like a series of linear levels. And even once you get to like the main world map, it's still like a series of missions that you're kind of chasing down. So I don't mind the structure of that. But if the combat is excellent and it's easy to acclimate to and I can learn it, then it might be a fun game to play. And if it's a fun game to play, like all the story criticism is forgiven. Final Fantasy V has one of the worst stories of any JRPG out there. And I play it twice a year because the gameplay is so good. So... it does have difficulty settings, which is usually my bugaboo when it comes to these kind of like action combat games. It does have difficulty settings, so if I play it and it's too hard, I can turn it down to easy. But then like at that point, I'm just kind of playing it for the story, right? Like if I'm not acclimating to the gameplay and I'm not looking to challenge myself with the gameplay, then what am I doing here? Absorbing the story, but the story is bad. So, like Horizon, I'm playing through Horizon, and hasn't gotten too hard for me yet. I had a boss last night that I was complaining about, but like if I get to a point in Horizon where the gameplay just gets over top of me, and I can turn it down to easy, and I'm still really invested in the world and the story. I still want to see where it all goes. But it might be a thing where like 6 or 7 years from now, I'll be able to grab a used copy for $12, and then why not? You know, we'll see. But another thing too, and this is a personal thing, I don't expect everybody to agree, but like Final Fantasy 1 was a really important and like foundational game for me. Like I was there in 1990 when the game came out. My copy, I bought it with birthday money on layaway at Kmart. Do you Zoomers today even know what layaway or Kmart is? So the game was $40-something. I had $20 in birthday money. And layaway was a thing where like if you couldn't afford to buy the thing at Kmart, if you like instead of buying it on credit, you would like put money down on it, and then they would like set it in the back room. And they're like, all right, but every week you got to come in and give us $7 more until it's all paid off. So I was like 9 or 10-year-old me. I'm like raking leaves at home. I didn't get an allowance at the time. I didn't get like a weekly allowance. Or maybe I did, but it was like, it wasn't $7. I'll tell you that. But yeah, my parents like gave me a bunch of extra chores and stuff. And every week they drove me up to Kmart and I gave them all $7. And then Final Fantasy 1 like destroyed my life for years. Like I played that game a million times. So to see them now like use that like lore and setting as this vehicle for we gotta go kill Chaos. Like so bad it's good that they're aiming for. It just doesn't feel good. You know, it's like I imagine this is what people who hate the Star Wars prequels feel about the Star Wars prequels. This is good. This battle's gonna be a minute, guys. I'm not gonna lie. These guys have a lot. That's not too bad actually. It took 4 attacks. Final Fantasy VII Remake did have really good combat. Because they've been playing with this like hybrid action JRPG combat for years and years and years, and it always feels off. Like, I love Final Fantasy 15, but Final Fantasy 15 is like welcome to the mountain of jank. It's just jank fests for days and days and days. Whereas the gameplay in 7 Remake felt really good. The combat always felt good, but I was able to turn the difficulty down. I haven't played it on the hard difficulty yet, so who knows. Because it was really more about resource management than positioning and aiming and reflex challenges. There were some reflex challenges, but resource management was the big challenge in Final Fantasy VII. But yeah, I played, 15, and then Type 0, and like Lightning Returns, and there was a couple other games, and they've been playing with this kind of hybrid system for years and years, and it just, the balance is always weird and janky and bad. But 7R felt really strong. Like, they finally nailed what they've been trying, the lightning they've been trying to bottle for many years now. They finally got it. See, I don't think you can tell a deep story that is satisfying at all with the character and, like, the start. What I've seen, the first hour or two of the game, I don't think you can transition that into a good, satisfying story that I will be happy to watch. It's like, right out of the gate, I hate this main character so much because he's obviously just a joke edgelord character. He's so unappealing. Ugh. The thing is, like, if they didn't want me to judge the game like that, then that's not... They shouldn't have showed that in the trailers, and they shouldn't have put that in the beginning of the game. Like, first impressions are so important, especially in video games. How am I supposed to decide what video game to buy? Well, I'll watch the trailer, I'll watch the preview. So if the trailer is off-putting, and the first hour of gameplay is off-putting, like, how much more real estate am I supposed to give this game in my brain before I can just say, you know what, you guys haven't sold me? I'm a fanboy, but I'm not a witless fanboy. Like, I'm not gonna buy a game that looks bad just because it says Final Fantasy on it. Some people really enjoy the cringy, so bad it's good characterization that they've got in that game. And if that's your bag, more power to you. Enjoy it in good health with my blessing, but... There's some time loop shenanigans with Jack, because, like, he gets introduced in the game and he walks in like, oh, I've got the crystal and I'm here to kill Chaos. That's all I care about, is killing Chaos. I don't have any other inspiration. And then his first conversation with Princess Sarah, she's like, 10 years ago, a knight named Garland vanished at the Chaos Shrine. and I want you guys, because you're going up there to kill Chaos, I want you guys to find him. And Jack's like, oh, whatever, I'll look for him, but I'm really only here to kill Chaos. So, like, he's going to fall into a time portal and turn into Garland, and, like, there's going to be shenanigans, I'm sure. And that will be enough for some people, but it's not enough for me. I'm sorry I named the character Bootylicious. I kind of feel like I want to buy one of each of these. Just to have and to hold. Like Thunderbows especially, right? How are we going to fight Omega? We don't have a way to stop Omega at all. I love the character of Garland. Like, there's one of the first cutscenes in Stranger of Paradise is like Garland in his armor with his big ass sword, like just walking down a hallway, effortlessly slaughtering soldiers. Like, thumbs up, cool. If the game was about that guy, maybe I'd be more on board. But it's not. You play as the dude in the dirty t-shirt, and he hasn't washed his face in a year. We'll make a decision on these bows before leaving World 1. I don't know if I want to buy one right now. Ooh, we might need some of these for the magic defense, but again, I don't want to make that decision right now. We are going to hang out on this island for just a little while, because this is where we can get death sickles. And I think I want to get 2 death sickles. And then any other money that we make here will probably funnel into rods before World 2. Oh, you know what? I gotta kill this bio soldier first. Otherwise, I'm gonna get bioed for days. We have a Thunder Rod in the inventory, and I think that might be enough for the Soul Cannon fight. If it's not, like, yeah, Thunder Bows are the obvious immediate strategy. Yeah, like, don't spoil the story for Stranger of Paradise, just because I'm pooping on it. Like, there might be somebody... It's a brand new game, like, it's just coming out. I don't know if it's out right now, or if I was just watching somebody play, like, the existing demo. But I'm not interested to learn the story. Like, I could look it up if I wanted, I'm just not interested. People will take that line, like, well, you can't judge a game just by watching the trailer and, like, watching a preview of it. Really? I can't? That's the point of a trailer, isn't it? There was a teaser trailer for Monaco 2 earlier today. I really enjoyed Monaco. Oh, there's a death sickle already. I think we just put this on you, my friend. Yeah, we could put this on you. And then you can... remove that. You can have that. Doesn't matter that much. Oh yeah, it does. Silver Armlet has better magic defense. So when you go on the front line, now I've got 3 front line people who all have the evasion buff. People do the same thing with like early access. They'll be like, well, you can't judge a game, it's still on early access. Like, that's the point of them releasing a game on early access, is for people to make judgments about it and to build some more capital as they finish developing the game. Well, we got our first Death Sickle in like 2 fights. I want one more. I'm looking ahead to like the crystals and to like the Dragon Pod fight, where Death Sickles are going to be extremely useful. And honestly, we might move Lena to the front row too, instead of having a whip. Put her in the front with a Death Sickle. Maybe. Oh, Garland doesn't exist in the present day with the Light Warriors running around. Because the moment the Light Warriors thought that they had killed Garland was the moment that the Fiends dragged him back in time. So Garland wasn't there anymore. And Chaos didn't exist in the present either, because he died 2,000 years ago. Well, the point is also that the reason that they release trailers is so you can make a judgment about whether or not to buy a game. So if I watch your trailer and it doesn't inspire me to buy the game, for a fanboy to then say like, well, you only watched the trailer, you haven't played the game, therefore you can't have an opinion about it. Like, I already have an opinion about it. My opinion is I don't want to buy that game because I looked at it, at the trailer they released, and it looked bad. Like, that's why they release trailers. That's why they pay people to do game previews and stuff. That's why all that exists, to help promote the game and get it sold. But what I'm seeing with this game doesn't look good. It looks bad. I realize too, like, I'm not exactly in the target audience for Stranger of Paradise. Like, I'm not an 18-year-old edgelord kid. Like, that character might have appealed to me in my early 20s. Like, back in the day when I was watching Boondock Saints with my friends every weekend, you know? I haven't had much word-of-mouth impression of it. I don't personally know anybody who's played through it yet, but like I said, I watched their trailer, so I watched what their PR company wanted to put out to promote the game, and then I watched someone play the first couple hours of the game on YouTube. So I got some like hands-on experience watching somebody play it and kind of react to it, kind of like what you're doing now with this game. And I'll frequently do that with games that I'm like really on the fence about. You know, like I'll watch somebody play an hour or so. And this particular game, it was just really... I was shocked at how stupid it was. I really was. Because every big profile game that comes out, that a trailer comes out, like the memes come out for it. And the memes are funny, but they're memes. So, you know, they're not really indicative of what's going to happen with the game. But no, this particular game, just the memes are what the game is, or at least what the game starts as. It really is that bad and that cringy. It's almost impressive. I've got my big profile AAA game on my plate right now that I need to finish. Like I said, I'm still working my way through Horizon a couple hours at a time. This fight's kind of dragging on longer than I wanted to. Final Fantasy I's story, I don't think you can write like a traditional, like modern style JRPG story for it. Because modern JRPGs, and by modern I mean like everything from like 1992 on, really. So the story of Final Fantasy I is supposed to come apart as you explore the worlds, you know? There's not really a sequence of events that happens to your characters in an order that would build like a what we see as a typical narrative. It was more about like you, the player, have an avatar in the world in the form of your four-person party, piecing together where you have to go and what you have to do based on what you find over the course of your explorations. That was a really standard way to design RPGs back in the 80s and very early 90s, but that fell out of favor with games like Final Fantasy IV. There's my second Death Sickle. We've got two. We didn't get any bows, though. I was expecting to get some Darkness bows. Or did they drop and I just didn't see them? So I'm inherently skeptical of any attempt to fix Final Fantasy I's story, because the kind of story it has just doesn't work well for the medium that it was in. That might be a world record on catching the black chocobo. I've never caught it that fast. So I wonder, like, it almost feels like the writers started like, hey, let's modernize the Final Fantasy I story to be more in line with what people expect from a modern Final Fantasy game. Realized that wasn't going to work, and was then like, oh, let's just go full Birdemic with it. Let's just do something so bad it's good. And then people will laugh about it and make memes about it. And that's what the kids really want today, are the memes. No, in fact, I would like to see more games have that kind of structure. Where, like, it's not really an open world. It's not really like, go explore anywhere. Like, in Final Fantasy I, there is a sequence of events that you have to undertake. There are things you've got to do before other things. But you have to, like, discover, or just read the instruction manual that spoils everything in the game up to getting the airship. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and this game will stand the test of time and will become a modern classic. And yeah, Final Fantasy I randomizer is good. Why did I fly to town? I don't want to fly to town. We broke it. Sorry, guys. If they weren't going for maximum meme, then their PR department has failed them. Because that's exactly what the game looks like in all of their material that I'm looking at. So I do want to keep Lena in the back row with a whip for now. She'd get better damage with the Death Sickle, but I want somebody in the back row ready to step up with a heal staff. And probably for the whole game. So okay, counterpoint to everything I've been saying. The first hour or two of Final Fantasy 15, I was already sold on the game because I knew what the gameplay was going to be like. And I was really interested in seeing how it worked as an open world and everything. But remember, the first hour of Final Fantasy 15 is you like play the flashback scene, and then there's a couple of story cutscenes, and then the bros push the car down the road, right? To Stand By Me. And it played Stand By Me, and I'm like, come on, really? Stand By Me? Like, this is how cheesy we're going right out of the gate. I was willing to meet the game on that layer of cheese because I had already bought in. Like, I was already excited to play the game. And eventually the game earned that cheesiness. Like, the end of that game where it comes back and you play Stand By Me again, but now you have all of the context from the early parts of the game, like, it earned it. I wasn't expecting it to, and if it hadn't earned it, I would have still mostly enjoyed the game, but the difference between that and Stranger in Paradise is, like, I'm not bought into Stranger in Paradise. It doesn't look like a fun game to play to me. I think I might try to get ahead on the healing this round with Lena's next turn. Because everybody, yeah, we're going to be eating these quicksands, and we're all going to be with under HP leak here. So we want to get ahead of it right now. Heal staff. So it is possible for a game to start out looking like really cheesy or really bad, but eventually building up to something that is earned and feels good. We'll see if this game does that or not. But to get to that point, like, I have to be willing to play the game at first, and I don't know if I am with this game. Yeah, sincerity is like one of the main necessary components for so bad that it's good. It has to be sincere. So, like, if you are trying to make something bad on purpose, you don't have that level of sincerity, and it's just not going to work as well. It's like a special blend of sincerity and incompetence. Like, good, talented people pretending to be bad for comedic effect is possible to do, but you can tell that's what it is. It's a different flavor of comedy than so bad it's good. My favorite, like, bad on purpose movie made by really talented filmmakers is Black Dynamite, which is a pastiche of, like, the Dolomite films of the 1970s. Like Rudy Ray Moore kind of stuff. Black Dynamite is a hilarious movie, and they do a bunch of mistakes on purpose, like leave the boom mic in the shot, or like put in weird cuts, or like, but you can tell watching it, like, these guys understand how to make a good movie, which means they understand what the mistakes look like, which means they can highlight the mistakes to really good comedic effect. But that's a very different feeling than watching somebody who doesn't know what they're doing make something with extreme confidence, which is where you get, like, Tommy Wiseau or, like, Birdemic kind of stuff. Like, if you want to do so bad it's good on purpose, which isn't really what Black Dynamite is trying to do. It's like trying to... It's not trying to be so bad it's good. It's trying to evoke a feeling of, like, 1970s grindhouse movies while also being a parody of them. I don't know, this is all getting very, like, abstract and nuanced, but, like, I feel like I can articulate the difference between somebody who sets out to make Birdemic on purpose versus somebody who sets out to parody a particular genre of film. And as much as I enjoy parodies, I don't think I would want to buy a $60 video game that I'm going to spend 40 hours with that's a parody. I just don't, like, I would wear out. I don't think I would enjoy it. Like, I don't think video games are a very good medium, or at least AAA $60 tier video games are a very good medium for parody. But even like Quentin Tarantino, like some of his stuff in his filmmaking and his craft, he'll put in some like mistakes, like intentional mistakes into the filmmaking process to give his movies that kind of grindhouse. He's literally got a movie called Grindhouse. It's a double bill. It's a double feature with one of his other... his movie in Grindhouse was Death Proof. What was the other one? I can't remember what the other one is. I've only got Death Proof on DVD. I don't have the other one. I was born in the year of our Lord 1982. So I was basically the year that the NES and Super Mario Brothers got really big in America. I was like just barely old enough to start forming memories that year. We moved to Florida in 1987, the summer just before I turned 5. And that year, I had a cousin who had an NES and Super Mario Brothers and stuff. So the whole time my brain has been forming memories, I have been packing it with video games, like the entire time, starting with Super Mario Brothers. And then obviously like Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy and stuff a couple years later. This is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to go down here. This is my favorite dungeon in the game. I really enjoy being my age when it comes to video games, because there were video games in like the 1970s. There were like the home Pong consoles. The Atari 2600 is the one that we had in my house. I have lived my entire life. I've never lived in a house that didn't have video games in it. My father had an Atari 2600, so even as a baby, I have like residual memories from early childhood, like even before we moved to Florida, like playing video games. But like my exact age, I'll be 40 this year. But like my life almost perfectly lines up with the entire evolution of video games as an art form, starting with really, I healed him for 9999. Interesting. Like starting with the release of the NES. So I remember every major era in video gaming. I was there to witness it all firsthand. It's all part of my development as a human being. I think it's better to be 40 years old and have that whole history with gaming than to, like, if you're 30 or you're 20, you've played video games your whole life. They've always been a part of your life, but your understanding of the medium and the history of it is always going to be a little incomplete. The way, like, I don't have a complete personal relationship with, like, the evolution of movies as an art form. Very few people alive do anymore. We were all born into a world where movies were already a mature and major art form that we all watched all the time. When I was born, video games were a novelty, at best. And then for most of my childhood, they were children's toys. So, and there's still today, just still a lot of stigma with it and a lot of exploitation that goes on. Where are you at? Oh, you're up here now. I didn't own an NES until 92, maybe? 92 sounds right to me. Like, we were on Mega Man 4 or 5 by the time we finally got an NES in the house. Maybe a little earlier than that. And then I didn't get an SNES until Chrono Trigger was in the magazines. So 95? And my knowledge of video game history is far from incomplete because I was a console kid growing up. Like we didn't have the Commodore 64, didn't have a computer in the house. So like early years of PC gaming, I don't have any of that in my development. But I was an NES kid growing up. I have friends who didn't have an SNES or an NES growing up, didn't have consoles, but they had computers in the house. So like they have their history with like point-and-click adventure games that I didn't have, or first-person shooters coming into the 90s. I had a friend who would go over to his house, play Doom all day, Warcraft 2. So, like, I would experience those kind of games through my friends. But yeah, I like being able to, like, look back at my whole life and be like, there's a video game for every, like, major event that happened in my life. I can line it all up. And it started pretty much with Super Mario Brothers. Earliest game I can remember playing is Adventure on the Atari 2600. Adventure is... This might be a slight exaggeration, but I think Adventure is like the progenitor for every video game we enjoy today. Every single game that comes out can trace its roots back to Adventure in some form or fashion. Because Adventure wasn't just like an arcade game where like it wasn't like Space Invaders where you were trying to rack up the high score, or like Joust or Pac-Man or something. Adventure had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It had a story that it was simple, but it was there. It was all about just you were in a world and you explored a world and you were looking for items to help you on your quests and you had an objective. So, it's really the first game of that kind, and that's basically every single modern game now. And then also as a very young kid, I learned to play Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, also for the Atari 2600. I always forget what's in these chests. And I always do this dumb little mini game, and I always hate it. Just sends you back to the first switch. So we have another spell. Yeah, we can't use any of that. We have 3 spells now. We've got Ifrit, we've got Shiva, and we've got Mini.
Hooray! We killed Sid mid. I'm not scared of this boss, am I, coming up? It's weak to lightning. I have a lightning scroll, but I don't want to use it up on him. Or not a scroll, a rod. Serve it up with cheesy potatoes, Barts. Oh, it's not heavy, that's right. We win. No, I don't have a coral sword yet. We didn't go to, what is it, Jackal? Ooh, we got a frostbow. We're going to go to Jacques Hole next and buy some stuff. I can't steal anything from anybody. We're unemployed, but we're not thieves. Gallup's gonna need a heal here in a second. There is treasure in this cave, isn't there? There's a whip or something in there to get, I think. Is there not? Gonna grab a booster set of all this stuff. Oh yeah, I can get coral swords now. Lightning. I'm definitely going to need some of these. Let's buy 2. Is there a reason to not buy the trident over the coral sword? They're both lightning element. Trident is 1 extra attack power. The Blitz Whip is in there, that's right. Let's buy 1 of each. And then compare. Stats-wise, they look the same. We don't want to equip these yet, but we do want them in the inventory, and then we'll get the Blitz Whip. So we'll have 3 different lightning elements weapons for Soul Cannon, plus a rod we can break. Magic defense is going to get a little more important going forward, but I don't think we want to buy magic defense gear and wear it. Alright, I'm going to take a free heal because I'm going to need every gil that I can get. Every mainline Final Fantasy game, except for 2 and 10, I love pretty much without reservation. Well, 2 and 10 because they're bad games, and then 11 and 14 because it's hard to really judge MMOs without playing them for hundreds of hours. I'm sure they're fine. 11 is fine. I did play that for hundreds of hours. It's fine, but it's an MMO from 2003, so it's got decades of baggage and bad design decisions that weren't reversed and just cruft hanging on the edges of it. And 14, I don't play. I just don't. It's not correct to say I don't have time to play an MMO. Like, obviously, I've got all the time in the world to play an MMO, but I just don't want to. I don't want to have an MMORPG in my lexicon anymore. Those days are over for me. This is such a weird dungeon, man. I'm gonna run from this, right? Yeah. Woo! Who's poisoned? You're poisoned. I'm gonna run from these two. The experience isn't worth it. I'd rather have the +1 run for the chicken knife. Oh, there's a couple treasures in here, actually. Dead. We're going to burn through some Phoenix Downs here. Let's do this. I have a highlight on my YouTube channel. It's old now. You can search for it if you want. From last time I streamed Final Fantasy IX. Where I was bragging about how easy the last boss was going to be, and then the last boss completely wrecks me. It's really funny. I really think Final Fantasy IX works so well in this style, though. Like, I really honestly do. Oh, cool. That's a pretty good weapon, too, actually. That's... She's not just keeping pace with the boys. She's actually passing the boys in some respect. I just want to grab this quick save real quick. In case I get skull eaten on the way out. Your first playthrough of Final Fantasy IX is a really good experience. Like, that's a game that really works really well on your first playthrough. I do find it to be a little meandering and maybe even a little tedious on replays, though. Because there's not really a lot to discover in the game systems or in the game worlds. You're really on rails for quite a lot of it in the early game, which is really good for the story and the setting. You get to kind of just simmer in it, and the game kind of brings you along on the ride. But when you replay it, it's a lot of just plot balloons that you're batting at the same way every time you play it. Whereas something like 7 or 8 even, you can sit down and replay 7 and be like, alright, for this playthrough I'm going to use different materia. Or I'm going to use different characters in my party. Or I'm going to junction my magic differently, you know? And in 9 you don't really have that kind of gameplay freedom. But that's only... problem is the wrong word, 'cause it's not like it's unenjoyable to replay the game, but it is a lot of going through the same motions. But yeah, your first playthrough of Final Fantasy IX, that's something special, I think. Like 9, that's a game I would recommend people playing it the first time, like really savor it. Like go through it slow, really poke all the edges of it, like really get a good feel for everything as you go. Like you're only gonna be in that setting for the first time once, you know? Whereas 7 or 8, I feel like, yeah, you can kind of rush through those games. It would be fine. Necron is a big difficulty hike over the other stuff in the Final Fantasy IX endgame. Blue magic is really good in Final Fantasy IX. Take some time and try to explore the blue magic system in that game if you can. In fact, I've done a couple replays where in my like active party, I find a blue magic to be a perfectly adequate replacement for both white and black magic. One of the good things in Final Fantasy IX is that Final Fantasy 7 and 8 were designed for 3-person parties, right? And it almost feels like Final Fantasy IX was too. So for a lot of Final Fantasy IX, like you're allowed to have 4 people in the party, but it almost feels like you can build a 3-person party and then just have a 4th kind of auxiliary character filling in whatever gaps you have. So the gameplay is like balanced for 3 people on your team, and you've got a 4th person who's just there to help. And that's a role that I think the Blue Mage character in 9 really fills really well. We gotta go get Adamantine, right? Yeah, I think we gotta go get Adamantine now. I think 5 unquestionably has the most powerful blue magic. Just because there's so many boss fights in 5 that you can trivialize with just a little bit of application of blue magic. It's really powerful in 7, but it's powerful in the same way that black magic is. You just get access to more powerful like fire and lightning spells earlier than you would level materia up. You can miss the Octagon Rod in 9? Really? It seems strange that you can actively miss that. Because that's his Faraga, Blazaga, Thundaga rod. Like, that's a pretty important one for Vivi. Or am I misremembering? Obtained Adamantite. That's how that word's pronounced, right? Only for sale in disc 3. Wow. Yeah, that sucks, dude. Sorry. There's just no other way to say that, really. That's too bad. Let's get some healing out. You're going to be weak to frost, I think. So let's do this. It might not be heavy. We might get a Death Sickle proc. Oh, I don't think I knew that the equipment in Ziguero changed at all. I didn't think I knew that. Ooh, I wonder what that means. Does that mean I can hit him with death, but he just, like, succeeded on his magic evade roll? Yeah, because that missed, but it wasn't, like, just an empty failure. Alright, I think we can safely Blitz Whip him here. Frostbow is doing the work. He didn't deserve that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think... Oh, you know, you need to attack. You need to Phoenix down, and then you need to Helling Staff. Good. God, that ribbon is so stupidly powerful. It's redonky butts how good that ribbon... Yeah, there it is. Failed his magic evade check. Get owned, Holmes. Alright, go ahead and put your sword and shield back on. Final Fantasy IX has so much missable stuff in it, though. It's going to be really stressful when I try to do the almost perfect save, because I've got to get all of that stuff, including all of the treasures in all of the locations that close off on Disc 4. And I've got to do it all within 12 hours. I'm told it's much easier on the Steam version because fast forward doesn't increase your actual in-game timer. But I'm sure it's still not going to be a gimme. It's still going to be stressful. I've had my fill of Saga Frontier. The game was more fun than I remember. I really enjoyed this time playing it with the cheat sheets and like knowing how the game systems and stuff worked. Trying to figure out how those systems work as a player back in the 90s was the opposite of fun. I didn't get through all of Fuse's storylines. Like, I burned out before that happened. But I got all the main storylines done. And even then, by the last couple storylines I was doing... I mean, a lot of the game just boils down to, hey, spend an hour or two in the bio lab. Like, there's a lot of that happening. Okay, we are cruising. So it's time for the robots. So... I'm going to keep Gallop with a Death Sickle, I think. We're going to go with a Blitz Whip. And a Coral Sword. Now, Faris is giving up her evasion to do this, because her evasion comes from her dagger. But I think the lightning damage on these monsters is going to be worth doing it this way. They're supposed to be doing a remaster of Saga Frontier 2, aren't they? Because I never even played that one back in the day. And we're just gonna eat the damage here. And then just heal up after each of these fights at the, probably at the pot in the library. These things have a lot more health than I was expecting, I'm gonna be honest. I really enjoyed replaying Legend of Mana. The Legend of Mana remaster they put out. Oh, loved it. And I think I started making some headway in the equipment system as well. I think I started actually figuring some stuff out about how to forge equipment, but I didn't do a New Game Plus run on like the Nightmare difficulty or anything. Wow, it took all that time to get a Blitz Whip proc. So yeah, we still might bust a rod on Soul Cannon, because Soul Cannon is a little more demanding than these little guys are. Is it going to be better or worse than the flamethrowers, I wonder? Ribbons don't block confusion status. Okay. That doesn't make any sense, but I guess it's a true thing. They can't break the confusion. None of their attacks will do it. So this is just going to be pretty lulzy. Are you dead? Nope. I could do it with a heal staff, I guess. Which is what I might do next time I fight these guys. Isn't there a Saga collection coming out at some point? Can I just take this pot with me onto the airship, guys? Like, can I just... Like, I'm coming in here every 6 minutes to drink from your pot. There is a Saga collection out. Oh, okay. It came out without me really knowing much about it. And Saga Frontier wasn't part of it? Oh, it's just the Game Boy games. Okay. I played the Saga 3 remake. I had to play it on emulator, but there was a DS remake of it that was really good. Not 3, 2. Saga 2. So Final Fantasy Legend 2. Again, though, I played it with access to the cheat sheet, so I knew like what the monster transformation system was going to do ahead of time. Scallop's dead. He's dead. There's only one of these dudes. Let's put the Blitz Whip back on. Is her whip not macro okay? Because the attack power on the whip is supposed to be like 42, which is higher than the attack power on the sword or the spear, but she's only getting less than half damage. I thought whips were supposed to be back row okay. I'm not sure how you're supposed to figure out how the like monster meat system works in Final Fantasy Legend games. I had the whip equipped and not the healing. So these can get a Death Sickle proc, it's just not very likely, it looks like. I should have hit Forest with that, actually. I'm upset that the ribbon doesn't block confusion. Honestly. That's probably fine, actually. 'Cause he's got the heal staff. And Forrest is going to have a hard time getting through anybody's armor, so... Never mind. What did I just say? I lied. Blah. So the only way to block confusion is to buy those angel rings, I guess. For 50,000 gold apiece. Dead. Dead. This went well. I mean, you can't... That's misleading, though, because you can definitely get bad monsters in Final Fantasy Legend 2. It's functionally random what monster you get. There is math to it. Like, there is a way to figure out, like, what monster you're going to get based on what monster you started with and which one you're eating and where in the game you want. Like, there's math to it, but it's impenetrable. There's no way to figure it out as a player going, like, just experimenting. It's not possible. And it's, while you can't go backwards in the sense that you can't go, like, lower on the monster list, like, not every monster on the list is even remotely useful. There are lots of monsters that are just bad. So I'm pretty confident when I say that if you don't have a cheat sheet, you're not going to have a good monster character. You're just not. It's not possible. Unless you get very lucky. Unless you gamble and win. on the monster slot machine. These guys, by the way, can't actually kill us because all of their damaging attacks are gravity-based, which means they're based on how many hit points I have. What can kill us is they can confuse us with Rocket Punch. And make me kill myself. It's not even really a matter of save scumming in Final Fantasy Legend 2. Like, you just have to have the cheat sheet. There's literally like an app you can download that's the Final Fantasy Legend or Saga 2 like monster calculator. And you put in what monster you have, and you put in where you are in the game, and it shows you what monsters you'll get by eating everything you've got access to. And very, very early in the game, if you do the exact right sequence of monsters, you can end up with like an end game viable character that can just carry the whole game. But if you don't, like, it's not intuitive at all. It's just completely arbitrary. It's not random. It's arbitrary. And I'm not convinced any player could figure it out through experimentation. I'm curious now that you guys are mentioning the manual. Because I know people say that about Final Fantasy 2. It's, if you know what you're doing, it's fine. The game system makes sense. But I have the manual for Final Fantasy 2, and it basically just says butts, butts, butts. It doesn't explain anything. But I never had the Final Fantasy Legend 2 manual. I bought the game second-hand back in the day. Let's just see what it says about monsters. Actually, you know what? Field trip. Let's do this on stream. I'm gonna have to hack together aha. Let's see if this will even accept a PDF. We're going to learn together. Ah, it does. Nice. Okay. Let's see how the manual explains monsters. So, okay, the table of contents here. I think you guys can see this pretty well. Oh, you can't see it when I scroll, though. Alright, we're going to do this a different way. Let's do it as a window capture of that. Cool. So I don't know if you can actually read this, but you kind of blow it up a little bit. Urixia, thank you for making Prompto sing. He does so love to sing. Okay, now when I scroll it, you guys can see it. Alright, this is the manual PDF for Final Fantasy Legend 2. Let's see. Story, how to use the controller, starting the game, beginning adventures, the map, subscreen, the items to be used in battles, the screen of alter order, troubles during the battle, magic books, the items, special skills, adventurer's log. Okay. I like this artwork, actually. I don't think I've ever seen this artwork before. Dude, that artwork is cool. The character artwork is actually really good. It's very, very 90s. Very, like, early 90s. Sorry, I need to pull my chat back up on screen here. Monsters. Monsters don't become powerful by themselves. They can transform themselves into another monster by eating the enemy monster's meat, which may be occasionally available after the battle. Whether or not they become stronger depends on the meat they eat. Basically, they need to eat the meat of a strong monster to become stronger. That's not true at all. That's a lie. They should not miss the meat of the boss monster when it's available. Also bad advice. They may become weaker, however, by eating the meat of a weak monster. Also not true. Once the monsters become strong, they should not eat the monster's meat unless you are sure that it's the meat of a very strong monster. Also not true. No, none of that is good advice. It's totally arbitrary. The strength of the monster you fight does not correlate at all to the monster that you turn into. No, it's a lookup table. It looks up the monster that you currently are, the type of monster that you just killed, the meat, and then it turns you into a third type of monster, and none of the three monsters are connected or linked at all. This is bad advice. Do not eat a boss's meat just because it's the boss. Dude, check out Mr. S. Dude, check out Mask. Look at this dude. Awesome. The world. Recommended group arrangements. 1 human, 1 mutant, 1 robot, 1 monster. That's fine. That's an alright team. That's what I would play that team when I play the game. When I played the DS remake, I used 2 robots. I think 2 robots and 2 monsters, just because that's like super powerful. Four robots would be an interesting team too. But yeah, 1 human, 1 mutant, 1 robot, 1 monster. That's probably the best team you could do. Monster's meat. Monster's meat is occasionally available when you defeat the enemy monsters. The monsters in your team can transform themselves into different monsters by eating such meat. Food your monsters with meat. Food your monsters with meat. Feed your monsters with meat and make them more stronger. As they can't become powerful, it's not guaranteed they will always become stronger. That's true. That also contradicts what it said earlier in the book, though. And I think that's probably all it has to say on the subject of monsters. Oh, so troubles during the battle are status ailments. And then I think this is into like a game walkthrough. So this is a pretty comprehensive manual, but it is 0% helpful as far as trying to figure out how the monster meat system works. No, it's totally arbitrary. It's a lookup table. It looks at what monster you are, what monster you're eating, and then based on those 2 things, it'll turn you into a third monster. There are like 8 or 12 or something monster types in the game based on what the enemy sprite is. They're not palette swaps because it's a Game Boy game. They all have literally the same sprite. But like each sprite will have like 3 or 4 different levels it can be. And based on what the level and type of the monster you're eating will determine what type and level monster you turn into. So you can't go down in level but most monster types are bad. That's my recollection of how the app worked when I played it last. Did I save it all recently? I know last 2 times I played the game, I didn't eat any boss meat at all through the whole game. And I was overpowered for the entire game. Until maybe, like, the very last dungeon, like, the very, very, very end game. Like, when you get to the world that has, like, that optional, like, 10-floor dungeon or something. Maybe. But no, I'm not confident that anybody could read that instruction manual and come away with it with a useful interpretation on how the meat system works. Even in the slightest. Okay, so I think we got both of the ads here. And we're putting out good damage for the rest of this fight, so I'm pretty happy with what's happening here. But I think Human Mutant Robot Monster is probably a really good team to play both versions of that game with. Because you get to play with all of the game systems in that case. You get a character that levels up, you get a character that like learns magic, you get a character that levels based on what they're equipped with, and then you get a monster. So, you know what? Kind of the same as in Saga Frontier, really. Like, oh, that's right. We got HP leak happening here. I forgot about that. That always does exactly half of your max HP, and it gives you HP leak. So the second time you see it is always going to kill you, which means we're probably going to die here. That Death Sickle wanted to proc right there. Oh, we're dead. Dead. Like, we're not bringing it back from this. I need to be on point with the healing for the whole fight. I cannot switch her to the Blitz Whip. Unless she wins this fight right now. Actually, she can probably solo it from here. Alternate. It looks like she got 2 attacks with the Blitz Whip. Plus 1 with the Healing Staff. We might be... Like, okay is the wrong word, but we might be... in an unlosable position. If we get lucky lightning strikes here. I think it's slightly faster than us, which means I think it's going to get a double turn on me within a couple of iterations of this process. So it has 22,000 health, but that's misleading because it's scripted to kill itself after losing a certain amount of health. So you don't actually have to bring it down to 0 HP. They gave it 22,000 health to make sure... I got another one of these, too. We'll see if we lose the fight, I'll just throw 2 Thunder Rods at it. They gave it all that health to ensure that you see that scene with it breaking down rather than just killing it outright. Actually, we might be a little faster than it, honestly, because we healed immediately that time. We're gonna get 2 hits on it this time. Lightning proc. There it is. Lena is soloing the Soul Cannon. Oh yeah. You'd love to see it. This is what I meant about freelancers being the Batman of the game. Like, it all comes down to your equipment. Just know what equipment is available and what you have access to, and it's all about just switching it around when you have a need. One thing in this game is there's not really spellcasting items in it, like Final Fantasy 3 and 4 have, and 6 has a couple. Because all that stuff got filtered into just the job system. You're just supposed to use all the jobs to get, like, even stuff like X potions. So this will work. It's going to take all night. Thunder Bow would be even better than this Blitz Whip. Nobody got hit with old in this fight because we took out the 2 additive parts so early. Just get one more hit in before it fires again. Alright, can I get anybody back up? I'd rather try to pull it back and fail, and then refight the boss throwing rods. I have 1 high potion. So if now Lena alternates her heal staff every round, this might go a little quicker. If she can keep it together. I played Final Fantasy Legend 3 for the first time on stream a couple of years ago. It was alright, but I prefer 2. There we go. So that like little script where it blows up, that's not a typical boss death animation. That's like something they had to script into its AI. Like it has to take a turn to do that. So it checks its HP, and if it's below a certain threshold. Oh, we got our high potion back. Because if you just deplete its AP and set it to 0, the boss would die without that little script kicking in. Alright. Do you even want your Ashura back? I think you do, because it can crit. Yeah, Legend 2 has a pretty good cosmology to it, like how the various alien worlds fit together. Like you're climbing up the tower, and each rung of the tower is like a new world with a new storyline. Whereas 3, you have like alternate realities and time travel and a bunch of other like crazy stuff, and I just wasn't really convinced it was... It just didn't feel as good. It did feel just like you were, yeah, getting just jerked around a lot. Is there anything here that I want? I thought you could buy high potions here. You can't. Fair enough. Not interested in kunai or scrolls or anything. I think I am interested in one ninja suit, actually. As far as... Oh, she's not using a dagger anymore. Actually, this is just going to be better for everybody than the armor that they're wearing. Because weight going down is a good thing, and the increase in agility is also a good thing. Yeah, let's just buy 3 of these. Everybody's a ninja now. So, we don't have a way to get high potions except for Rama, do we? Because Rama drops them if we fight Rama many times. Which I don't want to do, actually. Guys, I'm going to step away for 2 minutes. I'm going to get myself a fizzy drink, and we will get back to this nonsense. Okay. Let's go get the Earth Crystal high up in the air. Which, I'll be honest, is not where I would expect to see an Earth Crystal, if I had to guess. I don't have to guess. I need to put Gallif on a different monster than everybody else, so I don't waste a bunch of damage like that if he gets a death proc. I have to check the map a lot to remember how this dungeon is laid out. Nice. This is kind of a rough fight. Two mages and a bunch of gravestones. Golden armor. Probably you, because you've got the green beret on. Yeah. That's what you want. So I've got 3 exits from this floor, and I don't remember where any of them go. Exactly who I wanted you to punch. Sparus was about to get the heal anyway. Every elixir is precious in this playthrough, for sure. It's going to be our only reasonable way to heal for pretty much the entire back half of the game. And in the final boss fights especially. Nice crit. Ow. kind of wish that if the Death Sickle procced, it would just proc. Instead of you have to have it proc, and then you also have to bypass the enemy's magic evasion. It's like you got to roll twice to get that death spell out instead of just rolling once. I mean, it's probably balanced, but it just feels bad to see miss instead of just not seeing anything when it doesn't work. Like that. That's a bad round right there. It just feels bad, man. I don't think we want to go that way yet. I think we want to go... I always get lost in here. This is a confusing dungeon. Okay. Either way, Bartz gets the next heal. I don't like Lena being behind an experience level. Like, she's already going to be behind an experience level late in the game. Oh, it's just a save point. I've been ruminating on some non-Final Fantasy games I might want to stream on here in the future. At some point this year, I really want to put... Oh, that's not good. That sucks, actually. We just reset the battle there. I really want to put the Outer Wilds on the YouTube channel. Whether I record a series of it as a series of videos like normal, or whether I stream it. Even if I stream it, I guess it just goes into the archives anyway, like a regular video would. Like, these monsters might not be a valid target for the death spell. So Focus Fire might be the best. Oh, never mind. I shouldn't talk. I shouldn't say anything ever. Wow, Galuf, you couldn't have done that like 6 rounds ago? Yeah, this goes to treasure, and then the other way is the way forward. I believe. We'll find out if that's accurate or not. Sometimes it's nice to full heal in a battle. The end of Disc 1 in Final Fantasy VII set the bar for, like, impossibly high for other games that had multiple discs. Like, for the rest of the PlayStation's lifespan, every time I played a game that had multiple discs, I always, like, expected the end of the disc to be, like, a big, major event, and it almost never is. Who wants a shield? You've got evasion. You need the evasion the most, because you don't have an Elven Mantle, and you're not using your Mingaush anymore. Yeah, you can't tell the story of Final Fantasy VII in 3 parts at the rate that they established in the remake. It's not possible. Midgar is like 1/5 or 1/6 of the story. It's such a small amount of story, and they added so much to it. Like, it's so much more detailed. That's not good. Okay, it got fixed. In a manner of speaking, it got fixed. I honestly wouldn't be totally surprised if it didn't get finished. I can totally see, like, Part 2 coming out and not living up to sales expectations, and then the project just kind of peters out. Because Remake 2, or whatever they call it, isn't going to sell as well as the first one. It's just not. Sequels never do. Usually, I don't want to say never, but... And as far as parts of the game that can, like, be distilled down into an almost standalone experience, like, Midgar is really the only one. So either they have to alter the story significantly so the game... Because the game's never going to be able to feel like a globe-trotting adventure like the original was. Or they're going to have to release a couple of parts that are just not as exciting as the first game was, which is not a good business strategy for a series that's going to take many years to complete. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the story in 7 Remake. I didn't... They blew the Sephiroth wad way too early. Like, they have Sephiroth walking through the wall of flames, like that iconic shot, like 2 hours into the game, if that. So yeah, we're just going right. That's it. There's nothing else to this floor. I mean, releasing it all as DLC chapters, like... Okay, I guess that could work. But people are... Like, that's already, like, a proven bad business model. Like, companies have gone out of business doing, like, episodic games like that. I don't know. I really feel like the 7 Remake has already set itself up for failure. There's just not much else that can really be done with it. You would have to be a genius to pull off the story from the current state that it's in, and I don't think that the people making it are, honestly. I really feel like they should have just told the whole story in Midgar, right? You know what I mean? Like, you could tell the complete story of Final Fantasy VII in and around Midgar if you really were limited to setting like that. And that's really what they should have done with it. A 40-hour game that goes through the complete story set entirely in Midgar. Like, you can put the Gold Saucer in Midgar. You can put, like, the Temple of the Ancients underneath Midgar. Like, the whole thing works. Change a little thing here or there to make it kind of fit a little bit better, but no, they told 1/6 of the story, kind of. And that's as far as... Yeah, it was just disappointing. No, you still got a Blitz Whip, you're fine. It was an excellent game. I loved playing the game. Like, that part of it was great. But you can't tell just, like, the first act of a story like that and have it be satisfying. It just wasn't. Nobody has a character arc that matters. Nothing's explained, so it doesn't make sense yet. There are lots of theories floating around with what actually happens, but I don't... You can't reach a satisfying conclusion with just the information available in the game currently. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like coming to the end of the game and not feeling satisfied. It's like even games that are built like a series fodder, like the Tomb Raider games, you know, like each Tomb Raider game is just... I wanted to go the other way first, didn't I? It's just like a... No, I didn't. I do want to go down, and it comes back up, and it gets those treasures there. It's a chapter in a larger saga, but in addition to that, it's also a self-contained story that is satisfying, has a beginning, middle, and end, has an appropriate climax. This is going to unequip your shield if I give you this. I think I'll have you do it, because it will do more damage. Yeah. I couldn't tell you if I like the story of Final Fantasy VII Art, because it's just, it doesn't make sense. It's not a complete story. It doesn't have an end. It has a beginning, and that's it. It began. That's as much as I can say. And anybody who tells you otherwise is misinformed. Or they're lying. They could be lying. But the truth is, like, just nobody knows yet what actually happened in the sequence of events in the game. We don't have enough information yet. All the YouTube channels and stuff out there are like, oh, Final Fantasy VII Remake explained. Like, they're just full of crap because nobody knows for sure yet. It's all just it's all just theories and fan wank. And it's not satisfying to me. I like to be able to get to the end of a game and, like, have it be a cohesive story with beginning, middle, and end, and narrative themes, and, you know, everything your English teacher talked about before you fell asleep in class. The actual gameplay is really fun. Like, the game is worth playing just because it's fun to play. And the writing is good. Like, the characters, the way they interact, the extra stuff they added to the story, like, you go on like a little away mission with the Avalanche kids that's really fun. Like, it's not a worthless game. It's It's just, it doesn't tell a good story because it's not complete. How does an ancient sword do you? Because that inflicts old. Do you want an ancient sword, my girl? You do. Enjoy. And you know what? I'm going to give you this too. Oh no! I fell back onto the floor where I wanted to go anyway. Oh. Yeah, this is where I wanted to go. That was stupid. I thought she had the whip. There are some common consensus ideas on, like, stuff like what actually are the time ghosts and all that kind of stuff in 7R. And I suspect a lot of them are pretty close. Like, it's not a completely cryptic story or anything. It's not gonna... I don't think they'll completely change it to something left field if some of the fans guess right. I think that somebody somewhere on their writing staff really does know what the story is supposed to be. But... motivation. Why is it super important that you fight him at that time, at that place? What does Aerith know that she hasn't told Cloud yet? Clearly it's something. Why is Zack in the ending? And they walk past Zack. Like, you don't have explanations for any of that. You have theories, but you cannot possibly have an explanation. You don't have enough information yet. These guys just keep healing themselves. I'm gonna put everybody on the back row here. Oh, we ulted him. I'm not saying you don't know what the time ghosts are. They explain that, but there's more to it than that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a connection between the time ghosts and between another timeline, an alternate universe or something that some of the characters in the game have knowledge of. And when you get to the climax of the game, Aerith she doesn't even give an explanation. She's just like, hey, we have to kill this guy right now. It's really important. I don't have time to explain it. We gotta jump in there. And then you jump into like the metaphysical black hole that has no explanation, really, yet. Like, it frustrates me that there's so many videos like how explaining the story of this game when it's not a finished story. It's just not completed. It's only the first couple chapters of what's going to ostensibly someday be a completed work. Yes, I also got the sense that the time ghosts were defeated in the game. And that Sephiroth wanted you to defeat them. And that Sephiroth has an ulterior motive for that. Like, I got that sense too, but that doesn't mean that they're all dead forever. Like, Frodo and the company thought that they had outsmarted the Nazgul, and then it turned out that the Nazgul could fly. Like, there's nothing stopping them coming back and like, ah, you beat the level 1 time ghosts, but really, there's a long story tradition time ghosts. You spend a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn fighting a cult, And over the course of the game, you're like, oh, we've eradicated this cult. This cult is gone. They're no longer a threat. Start out the sequel. Turns out there's a remnant of the cult that survived. Like, there's nothing stopping them from doing that with Time Ghosts. There's no resolution to the story. It hasn't ended. You can't know how the story ends because it hasn't yet. And it didn't pick a good stopping point to break. It's not the first time people have been like, oh, you just didn't understand it. You just didn't get it. I just hope people aren't super frustrated or like really disappointed when, you know what, the games just are never going to have a really good story. They're going to peter out. I honestly don't, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they just don't finish. Well, I guess we'll call it the 7 Remake series, which is idiotic to say out loud, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they just can't finish it. If they just... it's too big in scope, or they have to cut like a lot of stuff out in order to get the story told, and like, hey, I know you were planning 6 parts, but you know what? We're not giving you budget for more than 3, so you've got to speed this up. Like, just the realities of video game development are going to rear their ugly head, and the series, it's not going to get done to people's satisfaction. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that I'm wrong, but like, we've seen this before. We've seen this with Final Fantasy before. Final Fantasy 13 was supposed to herald in this like big new frontier in the Final Fantasy series, this like new storytelling medium and this new engine that they were going to be using with all their games, and then it didn't. 13 didn't hit the sales quota they wanted. The various spin-offs ended up getting pseudo-canceled and walked into different projects. Like, the realities of producing video games just got in the way. Same thing happened with 15 on a smaller scale. Like, they were planning for 15 to be this new, like, content delivery system spanning the cosmology of the Kingdom of Lucis, and they released a couple of DLC episodes. They had to cancel most of them. Like, they were planning to, we're just going to tell a little bit more of the story every year in DLC, because Final Fantasy 15 is going to be a thing people are going to be playing forever. Nope, turns out that's not the case. And now 15 has like a lot of weird stuff in it, like just vestigial strangeness inside of it that is an indication of a business proposition that never happened. First and foremost being the big gaps in the story when you're playing through the main story where the episodes are supposed to fit in. This idea that, we can just go back later and tell the story in episodes. You can, but in actual practice it didn't work that well. It left a weird gap in the story that people really noticed. I'm hesitant to say that the 7R sequel, 7R2 or whatever, won't sell as well. I think it's premature to say something like that. I don't think we can know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it not only doesn't sell as well, but significantly less well, because anybody who didn't like 7R isn't going to buy it. And everybody who did like 7R, but not enough to continue playing Final Fantasy games, isn't going to buy it. It doesn't have the years and years and years of build-up and hype that 7 Remake did. A lot of people bought 7 Remake not really understanding what it was going to be. There were people on launch day who bought that game expecting it to be a remake of the game, and it's not. And they got yelled at on Reddit like, well, how come you were expecting that? Weren't you following the development for 6 years? No, normal people don't follow in-depth game development for years and years and years. They hear about a game and they think it looks cool and then they go buy it. So lots of people were disappointed with it. Lots of people weren't. Lots of people played it and enjoyed it just fine, myself included. And then I think
the next chapter of the story, assuming they're going to follow the same basic events as Final Fantasy VII has in the story, which they might not. They might go completely off the rails. But that if they do decide to keep it pretty honest, the next part of the story is just not as exciting. The next part of the story is more low-key, right? It's about Cloud and his friends kind of exploring around the world and hitting the next, like, visiting each city and solving their little problem and meeting new characters and getting some backstory. A lot of the Shinra, Sephiroth, Blood of the Ancient stuff really takes a back seat for pretty much the remainder of Disc 1 in the original story. So you're going to get people super excited to play the second game, and it's just not as exciting part of the story, and then that's it. They're going to fall off. What's the alternative? They change the story. It's totally new. They write a totally new sequence of events. Well, now you turn off all the people who are like, wait a minute, this isn't Final Fantasy VII. This is, I don't even recognize this story. What is this? It's just, the way they're doing it, I feel like they're in kind of a can't-win situation from the standpoint of trying to finish this story at any point. No, I don't want to be here yet. Oh, we'll fight you. I didn't want to fight you as a back attack, but... So yeah, learning now that Nomura is like, oh, we're going to sell the story of 7 a piece at a time, like episodes. Like, you all tried that, and not that long ago. 2016, and a couple of years... Like, you guys spent the Trump administration doing that, or trying that with 15, and it didn't work. It's not going to work with 7 either. Like, I'm actually surprised to learn that they want to try to tell the story piecemeal like that. They must have the sales figures of the base game versus the Yuffie DLC, which I haven't played yet. I have it installed. I haven't played it yet. They must have that information. They must already know that the standalone, like, DLC story is not going to meet sales expectations of the base game. Like, they must have that data already. We got to take this knight, or this mage down first. He does crap like this, which is booty butt cheeks. I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really did. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed the characters and the scenes. But it's a major fault with the game that the story doesn't have, that isn't good. It's not a completed story. And then I just don't see a good path for them turning it into a good completed story. The game is super fun, and it's impossible not to fall in love with the characters. The 4 main characters are all really good. They did some really good stuff with Cloud in the game. Like, kind of by necessity, they had to change Cloud's character a little bit from what it was in the original, and it works really well. Barrett is really cool. Tifa and Aerith are both really charming and endearing. The graphics are gorgeous. The battles feel really nice. Like, it's a good game. If you haven't played it, you should play it. But... etc., etc., reservations. I gotta go back to the save point now. Archaeotoads. Exclusivity contract, it's a hard word. Like that kind of stuff. Like I don't have a business degree. I don't know anything about business. I have no idea what money is or how it works, and I cannot spell the word economy. But I feel like, yeah, they can make a lot of money doing that, but I don't think it could be the core of their business model. I think at the end of the day, they have to be able to sell whatever future content they have for 7R is going to have to be able to sell as well as the original game. Or they're going to have to dial the scope way, way back. Like, I just see it as an inevitability. Like, you can imagine just a meeting in that boardroom, like, okay, well, the Yuffie DLC made us a bunch of money from, like, the exclusivity deal, but we only 10% of the people who played the base game went on to buy the DLC. So those projected sales figures, if we go into a sequel and then a sequel's DLC, we're seeing diminishing returns on this investment. So we actually do need to dial the scope back quite a bit. We got to get this story told. Instead of giving you carte blanche, take however long you need, we're going to say, tie it up in a trilogy, and each trilogy can have maybe 1 or 2 DLC chapters that cannot affect the main story because most people won't play them. Like, to me, that, like, I would be really surprised if meetings like that don't happen all the time in boardrooms at video game companies. You know what I mean? Like, these people making the decisions are not the same people who have the creative drive to make their big infinite Final Fantasy VII canvas for all the rest of time. No, not only is the Yuffie stuff not available on the PS4 version, but it is really super confusing. If you have the PS4 version and you have to upgrade it, it's really confusing to do it. It took me a long time to figure it out, and it's not intuitive at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost 100,000 sales for people who are like, oh, I bought the game when it came out on PS4. I want to play the new DLC on... but they couldn't figure out how to do it, and then they got frustrated and just stopped and moved on to whatever the next game on their list was. We're done here. I don't think they'll be quite that egregious, Osser. I think that there is an arm of Square Enix that is, like, completely just money-grubbing, quick cash grab kind of, like, they have a whole mobile division that plays into that, but I think, like, with their core games and stuff, I don't think they'll ever get quite that egregious, where they'll, like, sell you good armor or something. I think the people at the top of the top creative people at the company, so like Nomura and his team and whatever, probably have too much respect for the material to allow that kind of stuff to happen. And I'm glad there are still game companies that won't... Like, I'm playing Horizon right now, and it doesn't do that either. Like, or maybe there is DLC, but it's not, like, being flogged at me. Like, I don't turn on the game, and it's like, oh, did you buy the new Thunderbow DLC? It's available right now. Like, I turn on the game, and it's just the splash screen for the game, and then I push the button, and I'm playing the game. There's no advertisements in-game. I'm sure there is DLC available for it, but I don't know what it is. Versus, like, something like I was watching a buddy of mine play one of the Assassin's Creed games. I think it was the one in ancient Greece. I don't remember which one that was now, how long ago it was, but, like, it wasn't, like, pervasive. It wasn't, like, on every screen all the time, but, like, there were all these little reminders just watching him play for an hour or two of, like, you could be doing this if you bought this in the store. You could unlock this. You can level up faster. Maybe it was the Egyptian one, not the Greek one. Because even 15, which they were trying to get going as, like, a content delivery platform, I think is the phrasing they were using. Oh, they drop elixirs! What up? Even 15 didn't go that. It had some, like, really bad tie-ins with other games. And then it had exclusive equipment you got when you bought the Windows version, which I think was sold as DLC on the console versions. But it's not super terrible. It's within the realm of what... I don't like it, I wish games didn't do that, but I'm running from this thing. I got old. I don't want to be old. It's like, it's acceptable. It's like, all right, I get it. You guys made a super, super expensive game. You can't release a game like this every single year. You got to try to milk a few extra bucks out of it. Like, I also understand there are realities to making video games. It's not exploitative. It's just extra. Although, every single time you go to Galden Key in 15, every time I go there on the Windows Edition, there's like a big billboard advertising like the Ignis Art Contest or whatever, like the Ignis Photo Contest. Submit your best photos of Ignis. It's been there for years. As far as I know, they ran a contest, and it's clearly like the billboard is supposed to advertise whatever the like community thing is happening in the game right now, but they discontinued community things for the game. So it's just that one thing forever. And it's so funny because that specific location in the game world is where the player characters are supposed to like be low key, like nobody's supposed to know who they are or what they're doing there. There's an NPC at Galden Key who's like, "Ah, you're the prince, aren't you?" And they're like, "Who told you that?" But here's Ignis's face, like, "Ah, the Ignis photo contests this week. Get your submissions in now." Very silly. I don't know how this boss fight's gonna go, so I'm just gonna hop in. I think it's going to start out bad. Yeah, it's going to start out bad. But it'll get better with time because it gets less and less resistant to physical attacks as we go. So it looks like we could stick old to it if we can pass its M defense. And one of its forms is not heavy. We might get a super, super lucky Death Sickle proc. Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising. Like, that game looked interesting to me, but I learned how badly it was screwed with like just the Ubisoft business model, like flogging all their like storefront stuff, and I completely lost interest in it. I just don't want to play a game that's going to do that. Because the game itself, I thought, looked pretty interesting. It looked kind of like a Ubisoft's version of Breath of the Wild. Am I thinking of the right game? Like, it had some, like, low-level puzzle stuff on the overworld. It had, like, this pseudo-Greek mythology setting. So now it's gone into a second form, which has higher magic defense but lower physical defense, and we're doing more damage to it now. If I learn that a game is, like, just blatantly pay to win, or, like, pay to not grind or whatever, I won't buy it. I don't care what it is. If they announce next week, like, my biggest fear right now is based on what Fallout 76 was. I'm really, really worried that Elder Scrolls 6 is just going to be DLC the game. Oh, make sure you buy all the content. Did you buy armor this week? If you buy the new radioactive crystal, you'll level up 10% faster. Like, I'm really, really concerned that that's what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. And as much as I love Elder Scrolls, and I've bought every Elder Scrolls game since Morrowind, like, if that's what it is, I'm skipping it. It'll be sad, but I'm not going to play it if that's the case. Even cosmetic purchases, like, stop it. It's just cosmetic, you don't need to buy it. No, but I don't want to spend the game constantly looking at something that I can't have, you know? You could spend real money on this hairstyle. Even if I don't want the hairstyle, even if the hairstyle is ugly and I don't want it, like, I don't want to constantly be reminded that the game is filled with stuff that I can't have and can never have because I'm not going to spend more money on it. It sucks. It's a bad experience, and Ubisoft is really bad about it. Because Ubisoft, that's the Assassin's Creed people, isn't it? That's the... And then Fallout is Bethesda. But that's kind of like... Fallout 76, like when you boot the game up... I haven't played the game myself. This might not be accurate information, but I have a friend who was like big into Fallout, and she's like, yeah, you boot the game up and like instead of the game starting on like new game or load game, it starts on the store option. Like that's where it defaults you to. How gross is that? How absolutely pathetic and gross is that? When the default option from the title screen is go to the store. And in this form, we should be just killing it with physical damage. That's fine. Yeah, those kind of practices irritate me. It's one of the things I really love about Horizon. I know Horizon has this kind of reputation as being kind of like a mediocre, middle-of-the-road, dime-a-dozen, like, open-world game, but, like, it's a tightly designed game, it doesn't hit you over the head with DLC, it tells a good story. I don't really need it to be more than that, honestly. I think people, like, Tomb Raider games have the same kind of reputation as just kind of being, like, middle-of-the-road, just dime-a-dozen open-world games. I know the Zero Punctuation guy doesn't, like, he makes fun of those kind of games all the time. But if you don't play 40 of those games every year, if you only play one or two kind of... Look at this drop here. We got everything. We must have got every drop this thing is capable of, because it has 5 forms, and it looks like we rolled on the drop table for all 5 of them. Nothing useful. We literally can't use any of these, but we got all of them. It does seem most ubiquitous with Ubisoft. And Horizon, I don't even... Who develops Horizon? One of Sony's second-party companies, I think. But is there any world where Bethesda doesn't release Elder Scrolls 6 as DLC the game? Like, that's their business model now. It's what they did with Fallout, and Fallout is their big hairy baby. And I know there are people that play 76 and enjoy it, but I don't want that for Elder Scrolls. And I'm going to be really sad if Elder Scrolls it has to be dead to me for that reason. Lena's the actual hero? Lena sucks, dude. Lena's awful. She spends the whole game, like, passing out and getting sick and getting kidnapped and getting knocked over. Guerrilla Games. I feel like I've asked this question on stream and had it. It's just not a memorable developer name that means anything to me yet. Because as far as I know, all they've made that I've played has been Horizon. I hope they don't do that with the Elder Scrolls. I hope they're like, you know what? We tried Elder Scrolls Online. It was moderately successful, but it didn't set the world on fire. People want to play Skyrim again. That's what they want. So we're going to do Skyrim again, more or less. Which is all I want. I just want another... Not literally Skyrim, obviously, but... I don't think we're going to see Morrowind again. I don't think modern gaming platforms, like, you could either do a world like Morrowind, or you could do cutting-edge, high-definition graphics. You can't do both. Like, pick one. Is Elder Scrolls Online? I didn't even think it was still going. I thought it came out and they made a little bit of money, but it didn't like eat anybody's lunch, and then they I thought it was discontinued, honestly. Yeah, I've never met anybody who plays it, so that's It's like King of the Hill. Like, King of the Hill was on TV for 37 years. I've never met anybody who watched that show. Who watches King of the Hill? No idea. It was on TV since 1964. You watched King of the Hill? No, you didn't. Nobody did. No, we had that conversation on my Discord. I found out that, like, everybody on my Discord loved King of the Hill except me. I'm like, blew my mind, because in my actual life, like, going to school and, like, working with people for years, like, in my family and friends, like, King of the Hill was, nobody watched it, and nobody knew who watched it. So we just had no... I wasn't prepared to learn, like, oh, it's like one of my favorites, man. Really? King of the Hill? That's the show where the guy talks like, hey, you talk like this from here, right? Like, the bad, like, Jeff Foxworthy knockoff redneck joke show? That show you watched? Yeah, ugh. Why? Well, Treble, you had to watch King of the Hill because you live in Texas, so... They didn't make a cartoon show set in Florida. There's one episode of Big Mouth that's set in Florida, and they have a song about how weird Florida is, and it's correct. So not only did you watch King of the Hill, but you're going to rewatch it? I don't even rewatch shows that I like. That's not true. I rewatched Russian Doll this past week because they're going to put out a new season of that soon. But yeah, I kind of feel like that about Elder Scrolls Online. It's weird to learn that it's so successful because, like, who plays it? Where are these people who are playing Elder Scrolls Online? I might have played it. I might have given it a try if I still had an MMO bone in my body, which I didn't at that point anymore. I haven't played an MMO since Burning Crusade for World of Warcraft. I did a lot of that content, and that was it. I was done with MMOs. Here's something that sticks in my craw is I like to read the Final Fantasy subreddit sometimes because it has, like, good fan art and stuff, especially around the time that a brand new Final Fantasy game comes out. Like, it was really fun to go on the subreddit and, like, read about people discovering the pixel remakes. Like, Final Fantasy V came out, and a bunch of people played it for the first time and were talking about their experiences. Like, I liked reading that. But there's, like, an element in the Final Fantasy fandom that gets mad at you if you won't play 11 or 14 because they're MMOs. Like, yeah, they're MMOs, but they're still Final Fantasy games. You still gotta play them or you're not a fan. Like, no, you don't. That's just... It's not correct. It's not fair that people leave out 11 and 14 all the time when they're talking about the series. Well, you know what? Maybe it was dumb for Square Enix to name their massively online game as a regular sequel in their series. Maybe that was not a smart idea. Because not everybody wants to play an MMO. But yeah, there is that element in the Final Fantasy fandom that like gets butthurt about people that won't play 11 or 14. Like people post all the time like polls and stuff like rank all the Final Fantasy games, and it'll be like most of them, but like not 11 and not 14. Because in a lot of people's minds, like they don't really count. It's hard to not think of it that way. Like they kind of don't really count. When I think of experiencing playing Final Fantasy games, like all the single player games are at least on the same page, and then there are 2 MMOs that aren't. I would love like a Final Fantasy 11 pixel remaster. Sounds great. I'll play it. I think that there's a lot of meat in 11 where you could make a single player experience in that world. I think you could totally do it. I think you could tell a story that fits well with the existing lore, that has a bunch of train spotting stuff for people really familiar with Final Fantasy 11 as a game. But is an actual satisfying experience to play. And I've had people be like, well, you could just like sign up for 14 and you can play with us, and then you can just experience the story. And it's like, can you though? It's not experience the story in an MMO. Like, what does that even mean? I can just watch the cutscenes on YouTube. How is that different than getting dragged around by people and not really interacting with the gameplay in a meaningful way and not really building a connection? Here's the secret about 14. I've watched hours and hours of 14 cutscenes on YouTube trying to get a sense of what the story is. I still couldn't tell you. I still couldn't summarize it for you. Because there's not a story, is there? There's lots of little stories. There's lots of little, like, adventure paths, like for each expansion that comes out. Or for, like, for each new content drop that comes out, right? But there's not really a story in the sense that, like, Final Fantasy V has a complete story to it. And even if there was, is signing up for an MMO for 1 month to play with other people really a good way to experience that? But here's the secret, because I've watched a bunch of these cutscenes. I've watched a bunch of the story of 14. Every single cutscene has all the important characters standing around talking, and then there's one guy just standing off to the side, just like this. And of course, that's your player character. And your player character does not matter at all. They can't, because the player character is not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to have a voice, you know. They're just there. They're just the guy that events are happening around. That's all that an MMO character can ever be. And that's just not a compelling character. And it's really puts a fine point on it when you play an MMO or you watch a bunch of the story scenes right in a row, and all of the important characters are there just talking about the events or doing the stuff or whatever, and then the hero never actually does anything. It's so weird. And I think it makes for a bad story. I have no idea what the challenges on these bosses are going to be. Oh, we have to go to the Tycoon Meteor first. Whoops, messed that up. Like, there are individual stories in Final Fantasy XI, which I have a lot more experience with, that I think are good. The whole, the Shantoto expansion, the story's hilarious. It's funny. It's worth playing, or it's worth, like, experiencing the story, but, like, having to shoehorn it into an MMO makes the story worse than if it had been delivered another way. And that's too bad. So no, I've had dozens of people tell me that the story of Final Fantasy 14 or even 11 like is actually really good, and I just don't believe them. For one, because I've completed some of the storylines in Final Fantasy 11. I've played them to completion, and they're not worth experiencing everything. And I'm sorry, they're just not worth logging into a game and grinding experience levels or whatever. Dealing with the auction house, dealing with other people, scheduling a raid night. So-and-so can't make it this week. Do we have another healer? Does anybody know somebody? Like, it's not worth putting up with all of that to get the story in even the best of the 11 content that I've completed. And what I've watched in 14 doesn't look that much better. I'm sure if you're already invested in the game, I'm sure you enjoy it a lot. But I'm not invested in the game, and I'm never going to be. Mage Master of the Parobolos. I did buy 2 Mage Masters. Let's see if we can. So we've also got Death Sickles, and I don't think that they're heavy. Wait a minute. There we go. So that one's silenced. Galuf has my other Death Sickle. That one's dead. No, that's not going to be fast enough. How do I feel about just breaking Frost Rods? Yeah, trying to rely on the silence or death procs here is not going to be conducive to a good gameplay experience. I used to be one of those MMO people that tried to convince other people, like outside of the MMO, that the MMO I was playing was really good. And I would get frustrated when people like didn't believe me or like didn't really want to listen. But now I totally get it. Like, you know what? People don't want to hear it. Because to sign up, like to sign up for an MMO, that's like a life decision. Like that's a big commitment. And if you're not willing to make that commitment, no amount of cajoling about how good the story is or anything is ever going to be helpful. It's just going to be frustrating. I think we just bust Frost Rods. I think we go in with 2 Frost Rods equipped and bust them open. It might only take 1. No judgment on people who do play MMOs, by the way. I've got really good friends who play MMOs all the time. Half my Discord plays Final Fantasy 14. Like, no judgment. If you want to play one, if you want to make that life decision for yourself, if you want to make that commitment, I have no problem with that. Absolutely not. If that's what you want in your life, what I want in my life is to listen to the Weird Al discography over and over again. That's what I want with my life. That's not the right life for everybody. I want to do stupid challenge runs in old Final Fantasy games. Like, that's not the right life for everybody. It's just the right life for me. But I wouldn't like go onto the Reddit and be like, if you haven't played Final Fantasy V without using jobs, then you're not a real fan or whatever. Like, that would be stupid and inappropriate of me to do that. We only got to do 1,500 damage to these nerd balls. And I'm going to bet they're weak to ice because they're like bombs, right? How'd we do? Not quite. That's why we bought 3. And I think we will survive Titan's Quake spell, but probably only just. I thought about installing World of Warcraft Classic when that came around. Yeah, it did not take off Galif's equipment. He took it with him. He took one of my Death Sickles. Well, okay. Yeah, I have a bunch of people who went back into WoW Classic. I don't know anybody who plays Elder Scrolls Online, but I know people who play Dungeons and Dragons online for years, and so no judgment. Just there is an element of MMO culture that's like, oh, this is a big part of my life, and I really enjoy it, and I want to share it with other people, and that's just hard to do with MMOs specifically because the level of buy-in required to enjoy the good parts of an MMO are way too high for an average use case. It's just you can't enjoy an MMO casually. It doesn't exist. Yeah, we survived that, but only just. And we're not going to out-heal him with the staff. Oh, we're missing now. We need to land bigger hits. We need to get like a critical hit off this Ashura. I couldn't even make that post to the subreddit because honestly the game's not that hard without jobs. Like I'm not really hitting any roadblocks. I know the game too well. Like I'm not gonna get stuck or it's gonna be too hard or anything, but that would be kind of a funny post, wouldn't it? We're just gonna have to spam the Phoenix Downs. I don't even know what kind of rod I would break here if I were gonna break a rod. Oof. And we're dead. Okay, what can we do here? First question. I've got my little cheat sheet over here. There's an app called the Fiesta Support Tools that has all the boss information in it. It's really handy to pull up. We've only got to get through 2,500 damage. And he's heavy. So we're not hitting him with any status ailments. Specifically, he's immune to old and death, which are the two statuses we can stick with our weapons. He's got no weaknesses to exploit. And he uses Earthshaker as a final attack. We have no way at all to get float. If we had a way to confuse monsters, we could confuse the cats on the mountain and get float that way. So we can survive one attack, but not two, as far as earthquakes go. So I think we gotta go in like this and hope for really good hits off the Ashura and the Death Sickle. I could just break some rods and call it a day, but I want to see if I've got a slightly more... Because it would take 3 rods. We would have to do 3. He doesn't have a weakness to exploit. But yeah, I bought the rods for a reason. We're gonna buy more before leaving World 1. We're gonna do some shopping and make sure I've got a collection of each rod. If we get a critical hit off of Bart's is only gonna be about 500 damage. We need 5 of those. But yeah, I don't think I've got any other way to reduce that damage. I do actually. Hold on. We can increase our magic defense. We could buy these. And 2 more of these. What does that get me? Oh, I shouldn't have bought her one. It's obviously not going to be as good as the ribbon. Green Brazier is better than Mithril Helms. I should have been wearing those anyway. Alright, so we have fairly dramatically increased magic defense now. If that takes another... If that takes like 100 damage off Earthshaker, we might be in a much better position in this fight. Let's see where it gets me. Okay, that works. We're not doing terrible damage. There's the crit we wanted. Let's have Lena on top of the healing. Switch her back to the Death Sickle when she doesn't need to heal. That's a good axe roll, 342. He's not popping Earthshaker a lot right now. There it is. How are we doing? Yeah, we took 100 damage. There it is. We took 100 damage off of the Earthshaker. So I think even if he had used that earlier in the fight, we could have brought that back. I did park my ship on top of the meteor. What are you going to do about it? Call the police? I dare you. I dare you to call the police. You have to call my local police. You got to look up the St. Petersburg police in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. Tell them. Tell them I parked the airship on the meteor. Arrest that man. Go get him. Oh god, how do I get back in my airship? Did I soft lock? No, because you can get into the airship from a tile away. You can do that. Okay. Whew. How funny would it have been if that had been a terrible soft... Well, it would have been a hard lock, actually. We would have saved the game and then we would never be able to get it back. I think we want to keep the magic defense for this next boss, too, because this next boss is... Manticore. Manticore is not heavy. So I want to do this. I can stick death and I can stick old to it. That's the wrong way. If Galliv hadn't run off with one of my death sickles, we would have 2 chances to get a death proc on this monster. Death proc? No. Oh, this isn't... This is the... That's the wrong monster. No, it's not. It's just not called Manticore in this version. Okay, no, this is the right monster. I could go farm another Death Sickle if I really wanted to, but I thought 2 would be enough to get me through. So he's old now. It's an old Chimera Brain. And he's dead. Good night. It's a cool map. I enjoy it. We are going shopping first. First we're going to hit the pot. We don't really need to hit the pot, but it's right here. So why not? But yeah, in the nearish future, what do you guys think about Outer Wilds content? Like, it's not going to be... I already know all the solutions and everything, so it would just kind of be me, like, walking people through the game and sharing my thoughts on it. So it wouldn't be the same kind of Outer Wilds content as, like, a blind playthrough. But I still think there might be value to that. anyway. Or is that just something that I want to do and not something necessarily that people want to see? We can sell all these. We have no use for ethers. We can sell all these. And this. And those. And those. And that. And all of these. Why not? We can sell that. We can sell that. Never gonna equip a mithril sword. I could conceivably want a whip again, maybe. Oh, it did take Galif's stuff off. He was wearing the gold armor. Weird. We don't need that. Oh no, Forrest was wearing the golden armor. Okay. It's got 3 of each. We have 8 of each. 9 of each. Is that good enough? Or do I want to get more than those? Like, that's a considerable amount of damage right there. So let's just run through the bosses. Gilgamesh. That's going to be a rough fight, but I don't see why we can't just healing staff through it. We're going to have decent damage output. And then the Bone Dragon dies to a Phoenix down. We don't need to worry about scrolls there. The Dragon Pod on the mountain is not heavy. Gilgamesh again on the ship. We'll have much better equipment by that point. We might need to break rods to get through that. Atomos. We should have... Let me think. I don't think we'll have trouble with Atomos. I think we can burn him down with regular damage, but we have rods if we need to. There's no boss in Guido's cave. The crystals are not heavy. We've got death sickles for them. And then X-Death. If X-Death is a major roadblock and we just can't win the fight no matter what, we can get holy rods and break those instead. Alright, so I think like 9 of each is good for World 2. Then by the time we're done with World 2, then we can always buy rods in World 3 if we really want them. Also, we will have to buy bio rods at some point. I think we're good. You know what? I'm going to make a safety save just in case. But I think we're okay. We didn't stop and say goodbye to any of those people, by the way. Nobody actually knows we're leaving except for Sid and Mid. Yeah, not thinking of any bosses that we would need to break more than 30 rods against. And a couple bosses that might give us a lot of trouble, I think, with the rods we have will be sufficient. There's nothing that really has major elemental... Except for the crystals, we've got death sickles for them. Cool. We're here. You know what? I think I do want you to just keep the death sickle on. No, because the Ashura can crit. This guy, though. Just think, if X-Death had never sent the abductor out, we would have just died of exposure after we ran out of tents on this little island, and nobody would have ever known we were ever here. And then he would have won his war against Galuf and his people, and there wouldn't be 4 heroes of light or whatever to stand against him. Like, X-Death could have won a decisive victory if he had not sent this abductor. Mm-hmm. I think we want to put the ninja suits back on, though, because we're going to be fighting Gilgamesh here in a minute, and he's got, like, physical attacks mostly. So when X-Death says one more step and they die, he literally means one more step. Because technically Galuf doesn't take a step, he jumps on the Windrake and flies. X-Death is a man of his word and a literalist to the end. So we have to not rely on the strength of Captain Falcon, Captain Falcon, Captain Falcon, and Captain Falcon here. Wait, what crystal shards? What are those for? Yeah, he kept all his stuff. Okay, that's fine. That's what I want you to have equipped. run from these fights. He needs the heroes, or he needs to get the crystals destroyed in the tree. That's what he needs. The crystal bosses are actually the seals on the elemental crystals in this world, and that's what he needs to fix. But I don't see why he needs the people to do that. He needs to win his war against Galuf, so he can like bum rush Guido's cave. Like he attacks Guido anyway, right? And sinks his cave into the water. Because Guido has the key to opening the forests. But there's no reason Exdeath couldn't take that by force if he's able to handle this Galuf situation. We need to pop a high potion here. Got an Elven Mantle and a shield, my dude. You gotta do better than that. Oh, and you're not heavy. Goodbye. Yeah, that's true. It's not even clear that he would have needed the... I don't know why Exdeath does anything. He is the crappiest villain. His motivations don't make any sense. I have no idea why he does anything he does. Okay, everybody is pretty well equipped already. Oh, we wanted to put ninja suits back on. And you want this green beret for the point of agility. Oh, now Lena's in a different spot than she was a minute ago. Weird. We are still using that samurai sword that we got all that time ago. It's still one of our best weapons because it can do a critical hit. Even when it doesn't get a critical, it still does pretty decent damage. I always think it's a weak moment in like a game story or anything where it's like, we manipulated, you were doing what we wanted all along, ha 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 ha. Because there has to be an easier way to accomplish whatever your goal is than to trick your arch rivals into doing it for you. Because like, what if any part of this plan fails? Like, then your arch rivals... Like, first of all, your plan hinges on you not killing your arch rival, like your nemesis, right? So that, immediately, that's stupid. Any good villain plan should start with, who is my strongest source of opposition? Let's kill them, right? It seems like Exdeath does absolutely everything in the least efficient way imaginable. If there's some lore reason why Exdeath can't break the seals himself, like that's never explored in the game. Like there's not a scene where Exdeath's like, I couldn't have done that. So trees just make bad villains. Like, ask the Lorax. Yeah, his brain is made of wood. You can't expect too much from him. Yeah, these things are going to be weak to lightning. Let's go back to what we had a minute ago. Nobody wants the golden armor, really? Somebody wants the golden armor, surely. You want the golden armor. Well, maybe not. Lose a point of agility. Oh, 3 points of defense. Yeah, it's probably worth it, actually. Well, he's old. That's actually a really good sign. That's really good to land really early in this fight. You got the healing, right? Yeah. Nice miss, Gallif. Coming down at you, my dude. I wonder if death can stick to him, because we get the miss message. I don't think we get a miss message unless the monster is at least susceptible to the ailment. He's already old. That's a good hit. That was a good hit. Ooh, we gotta split our healing 2 ways now, or if needs it more. Damn! Alright. Alright. You don't think it'd be like that, but it do. Zap. He's old again. He dispelled his old, and then we re-olded him. Is that supposed to be a crystal crusher? I guess it is at the end of his castle. No, I never noticed that before, that it was like supposed to be a crusher. But yeah, I guess thinking of what the actual graphic looks like, I guess you're right. I wish we could see it in operation. We're going to take this fight an inch at a time. Not if we keep missing like that. Crap. Holy crap. I know when we get olded, we can't actually reverse the stat loss, even if we heal the old condition. I wonder if Gilgamesh has stat loss that he's not able to heal. So hard to hit. Oh, this is probably... you know what? I think this is... Oh, I'm not sure which is higher attack. We can't tell. He's whip. Maybe he's susceptible to being paralyzed. Now he's old again. Now he's not old anymore. Not that many classes can use the healing staff, though. Like, it's not an option for... You need to be White Mage or Time Mage, I think. Those are the only... Who else can use the staff? Like Mime, I think, maybe. Well, no, every time he uses Panacea, it clears the old effect that we stacked on him. So, yeah, he was clearing an effect that he had. And he was having to do it repeatedly because Faris kept sticking it back on again. Everybody's fine here. Actually. Lots of swapping weapons around in the Freelancers only run. Oh, nice. Nice hit. Oh yeah, Red Mage and Chemist. So yeah, you got a fairly good chance of being able to use the heal staff in a Fiesta. Oh yeah, this card's really broken and villainous, by the way. The barrier card. Like, absurdly powerful. Of course, if you're a White Mage, Red Mage, or Chemist, you've got better healing options. Or at least good healing options comparable to the heal staff. It's really only Time Mage that gets to use the heal staff to its full potential because they don't have any other options for healing. Alright, we're taking a lot of damage in this fight. I agree. You can get some decent equipment in this village coming up. Although I think other cities later in the game, like the castles, have pretty much the same equipment for sale, or comparable equipment at least. I like how the battle background here is like a nighttime sky. It's kind of cool. There's not often a sense of our heroes like traveling at night. In fact, I think we're about to get a better samurai sword. We might have to do some... grinding in this area, because I don't want to move on from this town until I have bought all the equipment I want. Alright, so this girl has a ribbon for us in the third world. We'll have to remember that. Yeah, because we want to get... we got Sleep Blade, Wind Spear. Do I want a Chain Whip? Yes, I do. So yeah, we're going to have to do some fighting around here to get all this stuff. So I want to buy a Chain Whip and a Sleep Blade, a Wind Spear, and a Chain Whip, I think, from here. So we might as well start buying what we can, actually. Why am I putting it off? I'm going to move on from the Ashura. We're not getting critical hits consistently enough to make it better than just consistent damage from the Ancient Sword. So yeah, in the third ward she'll give us a ribbon, which is excellent. And then we just need a bunch of stuff from here. We definitely need 4 Gaia gears. We want to upgrade to all golden armor. And all golden shield. Yeah, we're going to be fun. We need tens of thousands of gold from this village. So we're going to be here for a minute. I think that's where we will pick it up next time, though. Alright, we took a big bite out of the game. We completed the first world. We got a grinding session ahead of us going into the second world so we can get all better equipment. And hopefully Monday we'll be getting back to this. There's not going to be a Dungeons & Dragons stream on Twitch on Sunday. I have other plans on Sunday. I had to cancel the game for just this week. That'll come back next Sunday. So hopefully you will see my smiling face and my gorgeous golden locks again on Monday.